Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country, and it's time for another garden update. And today is May 31st, so by the time you're seeing this, it's probably going to be like June 4th or 5th, something like that. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at this. I'm just giving you the date as a reference point. And I'm not going to go over the deck garden today, but I wanted to show you real quick. Mr. Rain got my quote-unquote outdoor kitchen set up for me. So there's my rocket stove. I used it so much last year that it blackened on the front. But I'll be doing some more rocket stove cooking videos coming up soon. We just got to cover over it to protect it from the rain. It's the reason I'm getting out here now to do this is because it's going to be raining for the next several days, which is actually a good thing even for here. We're going to be needing that rain to kind of build things up and get us ready for the hot, dry summer that's going to come. I'm just kind of doing a flyby on the deck so you can see how the blueberries and grapes are coming along. I do have quite a few little tiny grape clusters or grape buds, flower buds starting to form all over the place. There's one right, where is it? Right there. And there's tons of them all over. And then they all come down on either side of my steps. Anyway, that's just a quick overview on that. So today I'm going to be talking about potatoes and everything else growing in this section right here of my main garden bed. And I'll probably talk a little bit about what's going on back there. So all that we'll be covering later, but I'm just giving you an overall shot to see, so you can see this is the section I covered in my last update. You can see my marshmallows are just getting bigger. I actually pruned a bunch off of, or cut a bunch back, because I'm going to start dehydrating a whole bunch more leaves. And oh, back there, yeah, it's not green anymore. It will be soon. We had to cut all that way back. Okay, so here is my biggest goji berry. It's looking quite healthy, and this is the one I have in a pot. And the funny thing is, this is the only one I have in a pot, and yet it's the healthiest looking one that I have. I started out with 8 and ended up with only 3 that made it through the past couple of years. And so those are my best ones that I have. And hopefully I'll get berries on this one this year. I'm guessing goji berries are kind of like grapes. Grapes can take up to take 4 to 7 years before you start seeing grapes on them. So I'm guessing that's kind of going to be the same with the goji berries. Now down here I got a couple of calendula. I think one of these might be the strawberry or the pink calendula I got from Shadell over at Delectable Mountains. She sent me some seed. I have several different ones planted around. They all germinated well for me, so that was cool. And then a kind of sad looking parsley right there. I think because the chickens have still been trying to find a way to peck at it. There's this nasturtium there and a nasturtium there. I know people in warmer climates are already getting flowers from their nasturtiums, which makes me a little bit jealous. But my time is coming, just like it does every year. And here is this catnip now. I can, because I keep harvesting on it. It's not as tall as it would be, but it's very bushy because I keep cutting it back. But I'm not dehydrating for using in making homemade extracts and tinctures for pain, or just using in tea. I've actually been throwing fresh into the chickens' nesting boxes along with some oregano and what else? Something else. Peppermint, I think. And I'm starting to see flowers forming right over there. I see a couple of flowers starting to form. I love how the catnip looks when it's in bloom. It's just beautiful. Okay, and so then this is actually the first. I have 3 separate potato patches. This initially became just an extra space for growing potatoes because I didn't know what to do with it at the time. And now what I find is taking this section, going ahead and growing some potatoes in here. And I'm going to do this with that section back there, because that's my main potato patch, or was. And then the section out front where I have more potatoes growing. Well, here's the funny thing, is I planted these long before those. And I'm going to go ahead and take you over there and show you those in a bit. And these are doing good. They should be ready in another month from now. There's a nasturtium right there. But anyway, what I do, here I go rabbit trailing again, is once I dig all these up, then what I'm going to do is what's, you know, obviously leave the things that are kind of here and there that I've got growing intentionally. And then I'll be transplanting. I don't know if you can see right down there. Let's see if I can zoom in. You see all that red stuff growing down there? That is amaranth. I just put it there to give it a place to start. And then what I'll be doing is moving the plants a little at a time in here and let them fill in this area, because the amaranth did wonderfully here last summer. And so I will go ahead and link to the video of the amaranth I did last year right up in the upper corner there, so you can check that out. And so that's what happens there. This is one of the 3 lavenders I have in the back. I showed you the one over there in that section, over there where I've got the elephant garlic, or the English garlic as it's also known, and the marshmallow growing. But right down there you can kind of see that one echinacea. What I'm going to do is come out here and break off some of these potato leaves just to let the echinacea get some more sun. But I'm not real concerned about it, because what will happen is eventually these potatoes in about another month are going to start dying back anyway, and I will pull them up, and then that echinacea will get plenty of light, and it should have a chance to get tall enough that even when the amaranth starts growing taller, because it'll get pretty tall, the amaranth will get up to here, then the echinacea should be tall enough that's getting plenty of sun. All right, there's another calendula. That little guy right there is a ground cherry. Radicchio and kale coming up everywhere, like I'm saying. And some of it I've had to pull up to get, just because it gets too thick and it starts to shade out things. But I'm leaving quite a bit. I've been harvesting and dehydrating a bunch of kale and radicchio and throwing it in salads and just eating it fresh right out of the garden, like I love it. Obviously another nasturtium, and then this is my tiniest little goji berry. I almost thought this guy wasn't going to come back at all this year, and then suddenly it started taking off. And then right here is just one little patch of golden oregano. I wasn't even sure if this little tiny piece was going to do very good here. I knew it would love the sun, but I just didn't know if it was even going to grow, and now it's really starting to take off, as is my main golden oregano, which is much smaller than last year because I had to move it. And I did show that in another video, but I will show you, I'll go ahead and link to the video on the golden oregano I did last year. All right, and then just quickly, tomatillos are coming along. Peas, I'm surprised they're not growing much faster and much higher and much taller, but they are starting to get to that point now where they're really starting to take off. So I think by next, in another month, maybe even a couple of weeks, I should be able to be out here harvesting some snow peas. And then I got beans and then corn down there and all that. And again, I'll cover that more in detail later on. Let's go check out that other potato patch. Should I let you guys out on my way by? Is it time? It's time. They're telling me it's time. Okay, guys. Cheeky birds. And there they go, off and running. And the fire pit, the reason we have that board sitting across there, obviously we're not really using the fire pit at the moment, is so that when I'm cooking in my Solarvore oven, and we need to mow or whatever, we can just pick this up and set it up there, and it's nice and level, and it gives it a place away from the chickens, the dogs, and all that. And then we can just turn it to face the sun. I know it's a lot of people are really liking the All-American Sun Oven. I don't have one yet. Maybe one of these days I'd like to get one, but I've been using the Solarvore oven for will be the 7th year, and it's done good for us. I've cooked and baked all kinds of stuff in there. Okay, so here, look at these potatoes. Now, the thing about this is these potatoes went in so much later than my other potatoes. And only reason why was because we had to do a whole bunch of work in here. You saw the video where Mr. Rain took all this and and had to rebuild all this, and I couldn't get my potatoes planted until he got done with this, so that then I could block it off and keep the chickens out of here. And then, as I said before in other videos, this is just temporary, this siding. It's the same siding we're using over there to keep the dogs in the yard. And anyways, it's just here as a temporary thing. Eventually he's going to build a door to go around here. But I don't actually remember planting that calendula there, but there's a calendula and it's going to stay. I got a transplanted nasturtium that's doing so-so, but it should start taking off here soon. And of course the radicchio and the kale here, there, and everywhere in between the potatoes. But anyway, I think part of the reason the potatoes really took off this year so much quicker than the other ones is because we threw all kinds of stuff in here, mostly a lot of stuff from the chicken coop. And we know that potatoes really love acidic soil, so they're going to like lots of grass, lots of chicken manure and things like that. So, and then you can see I've got some squash here and there, and there's one I didn't plant there, so, but I'm just leaving it. I'm just letting it grow, and hopefully I can kind of encourage it over this way, because eventually, just like before, you know, the other potatoes, these are going to die back and be out of the way, but by then these should be tall enough anyway that they're going to start climbing up and around all this here, and like we did last year with the squash. And here's the silly thing, this was the one thing I forgot to write down. I won't know until these start getting little flowers, you know, the female flowers on them. I won't know which squash is which because I forgot to write it down. But some of them are spaghetti squash, some are butternut squash, and some are pie pumpkins. And I've got them planted on both sides. They do better, they start off a lot better on this side. But they take a little longer here because this area here doesn't get as much sun as the other side of it does. But they should do okay. They're looking, the starts over here are all looking pretty healthy. All right, now I wanted to show you this over here. These are my hedges. This is my laurel. You will have seen this in the background quite often. It's very lush and very, very green and very, very tall. Now that section over there, you can see where there's kind of a line here. That's more the neighbor's side. And so Patrick didn't want to cut any more. It'd be falling into the yard, and just kind of let them deal with that. It's really, you know, if they want sun in their backyard, they're going to need to prune that down. So we did our part and cut this down to here. We actually could get a little bit more now that he's cut that back, because what he did was he cut all this first down, but now you can see where the grass line is. The hedges came out to here. And that was just too far over. It was really encroaching. You know, we're in town, so you've got county right away in here, and so it was really coming way too far over. And so, you know, Ryan came over, and the guys, you know, here's some of the leaves left over from the pile we had. You know, they cut this way back. It just took out so much, but it expanded our yard. And even though this is the north side, I still get this sense of a lot more light coming into this section. And of course, the chickens are loving this new area for digging around in. And I know this isn't pretty. Eventually down the road, when we can afford to get something a little nicer for fencing, we'll do that. But this is some salvaged, reclaimed roofing. And we're putting it to use, and this is just to keep our little dogs, because they're explorers and they like to go through those hedges, and that's to keep them contained, and the chickens of course as well, because they'd be able to get through there. But yeah, this whole section here, all this here was just a big huge, that whole area clear from here to the gate was a big huge pile of all the pieces from this hedge, from this laurel. But it doesn't look super pretty right now. This is one place I can say I do not mind the chokeweed growing, because it does fill that in and keep it green. But it'll fill in pretty quick. I already see a whole bunch of new leaves coming in. That's one thing about laurel, is it's pretty hardy, and it likes getting that light, and it will fill in very, very quickly, and it will look lush and green again. Might not. It might take till next next spring for it to look that way, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm curious to see how it's going to look by the end of the summer. Maybe I'll keep you updated if you're interested. But if nothing else, we do have more space, and we finally got that done. We just let it go for too many years. All right, well, I'm going to end it here, and I thought I'd end it standing in the chicken yard, at least in their doorway, so you can get a different angle of the garden and how it looks from this side with the greenhouse and the deck up there with the grapevines. And then there's those potatoes over there. Oh, and there's my other lavender. All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.